Hello and welcome to the Gaming Chronicles. For this episode, we will be doing an interlude of sorts. Now, right now, we're in the town of Portsmouth. We're actually exactly where we were at the end of episode 9. And I thought that before we did the next episode of progression and gameplay, that I would announce somewhat that we're going to be changing up a little bit the way that we uh, go through the game from here on out. I've been eager to make progress, level up characters. We're on level 7. We've been doing very well as far as progressing through the game fairly quickly. Uh, just to give an idea, right now we're at about 25 hours played, or not 25, sorry. We're about 40 hours played. Now that includes all of the episodes and all of the grinding in between. And I have mentioned before that this game is very grindy and that you have to fight a lot of battles to really get anywhere and get gear. The experience grinding in this game is real, and it's crazy. Did I just fireball my own party? I think I did. I hit the wrong key and I fireballed myself. Anyway, that happens. Um, so, what I wanted to do in this episode is set the expectations, I guess, of what we'll be doing from here on forward. I've been trying to kind of blaze through towns and different. Ouch. We took a beating for only 3 gold each, and excuse me. So I wanted to set the expectations of how we'll be proceeding forward, just because the pacing will change, and that I also wanted to show that I will be using some online resources as a reference to what I'm actually looking at. So in a previous episode, I pointed out that there was an online resource. Where is it? That was made, addictinggamewise.com. Whoever this individual is who created all of these maps, thank you so much for sharing this, because anybody who has ever played Might and Magic 1 and had to map this game out understands the pain. And so this gentleman or lady, whoever this was, did some fantastic work. Now, as I've said before, in the Crazed Wizard's Cave, that's the one that I showed as reference just to illustrate where we were going. This map is not 100% accurate, but it's dang near close, I think. And this is the overworld view. And I should say maps, not map, because there are many maps. And so I just thought I would show where we were yesterday, and or in our previous episode. It was just yesterday, right? I think, yeah. And so here is Portsmouth, and this is where we went to get one of the clues. And as you can see, we came down, and this town has a fair amount of random encounters. And these are actually really good grinding spots, because you can go to the end, you can just hit all of these X's, and you can have a lot of. I don't know if they're all easy like the previous battle was, but since they're supposed to scale to the experience level that your party is on, just like all randomized encounters, whether they're fixed locations or not, they should be easy experience and gold. That battle that we just saw, that was, that's a crapshoot, and you never know what you're going to get. However, the encounters should be easy, and there's several of them. So the nice thing about this is you can grind a lot of encounters out in Portsmouth and not have to walk a long ways and then go back and save and rinse and repeat. So Portsmouth's a good place for grinding once you're at about this level. Even level 5, I might say, once you get the fly spell, you could come to Portsmouth and grind out random encounters if you don't like to do it on the outside of cities. Because let's be honest, the outside of cities is a little bit more dangerous and scary even when you have maps. So anyway, this is Portsmouth, and here is where we came to get our clue. And I was narrating which way I was turning just because uh, the only thing that the screen shows is the map. And I've done all this intentionally. I want to illustrate what the game looks like when you're playing it. I don't care to set this up as like a streaming event or a streaming episode where I'm on camera, you have a little screen of the game, and then in another one you might have a map, or heaven forbid, me trying to map this out. There is one individual, what he's a, I think he's a current YouTuber or streamer. I can't remember his name, but he did a full playthrough of Might Magic, and he mapped the maps as he went, and fantastic work. I have watched a few of the videos in that series, and he did an amazing job. That's not something that I am going to redo because I have my own maps, and then these are available as well. So anyway, let's see. There's Portsmouth, as pointed out. Here is Dusk, and Dusk is an interesting town, as I said. Here is the maze that we went through to get to the guy who told us about the clues, and it says you're not the couriers if you have already done the quest, or if you've accidentally gotten rid of the scroll that you're supposed to deliver to him. And these maps are so nice just because they're labeled with letters and references, and all the X's are supposed to be your random encounters. So far, that's where I've found where any inaccuracies were, where an X is placed where there may not actually be a random encounter. But there are only a few that I've found so far. By and large, these maps are very good, and there's only been one or two places where the outlines have had a couple inaccuracies, which are easy to work around, or easy to see when you're navigating. So anyway, this is Dusk, and you have some interesting things here. Well, we won't really get into detail, but I just want to illustrate the maps. Here are the castles, and the castles are also another good place, honestly, for random encounters. They're a little bit stronger than the towns, and so you can have your fixed encounters with random mobs that are still supposed to scale to you. But they're a little bit stronger than in towns, so you might get better loot. Um, and then here's your areas that we were in. Let's see, where were we yesterday? We were in B2. So here's where we were struggling, or here's where I was struggling. So we started in Sorpagal. Here's the grid that Sorpagal is in, right? Uh, Here's Sorpagal right here in the middle, and then you come over here to get to the Wizard's Cave, and then what we had to do, see what my impression was, is that, let's see, I could just, what we tried to do first was I tried to fly to B2. It put us right here, and so I thought that I would be able to just go straight east and then come up and around, and then that there would be a passage coming to the south. Well, that's where I was dead wrong, and it can be apparently or evidently seen as I'm walking through this zone that I was getting a little bit lost because I thought that there was a passage that I could come over to the north here. And so I had actually mapped that incorrectly. So my own maps, excuse me, left something to be desired as well. And that just goes to show truly how difficult it is to map everything perfectly. That's why I applaud this individual who made these maps, is because even though it's not 100% accurate, this map creator of my or this mapper uh, we could call him a cartographer even. This cartographer did an amazing job. So anyway, what we had to do, we had to fly to C2 where it put us in Sorpakal. We came south, then we went west, and then down here, and then we came to this little area or this little square right here where we had to break the statues, fight the cariated guards, and then go west into B2, and then we were able to come here. Now, of course, what I did was I came up north and I came this way. Uh, Forgetting that there was a entrance to the woods down here. I came all the way to the north and or I came up north and then came in this side and then we wandered around the woods all the way this way, up, down, and then I kind of got lost in here because I couldn't read my own map. And fortunately, I don't even know which encounter we were in, to be perfectly frank. We were in one of these random encounters, and we couldn't rest. So fortunately, we got a good RNG retreat, and it put us back here, so we were able to rest, and then we were able to come back in, and then and then come back in this way, find the stronghold, and then GTFO. And so the overworld areas, excuse me, are uh, are also just full of stuff, just random stuff. Like going back to C2 where Sorpakal is, right? Our first city. Uh, there's there's really interesting stuff just in this first grid. There's a portal. There's a gypsy we'll interact with later. There's a fountain that um, gives us a random buff, and then there's even a trash bag that or it's a treasure chest, I think, but it gives you a bag of garbage, which is bag of garbage is funny in this game. And so anyway, those are the maps, and here is E1. By the way, this is where Dusk is located. So this is part of the Great Desert, and as you can see, there's so much to these maps that we've already been to that we haven't really touched on or explored. And so moving forward, what I think that we will do is I still don't want to explore every nook and cranny of the game just because it is very time consuming and it's truly unnecessary. I'm not gonna hit every random monster encounter just because that's inane and it doesn't really add value. Um, it truly doesn't. So that won't be happening. However, there's a lot of side quest stuff, and there's a lot of other things that we can just do that are kind of fun. Like in the town of Dusk, for example. You know, we'll probably come back and come up here and do this little succession of encounters and go into the is it the crypt, right? Yeah, the crypt. Just to do the sequence, just to do the sequence, just to illustrate it, right? So there's a lot of fun stuff in the game, or maybe it's not fun stuff. Sometimes when you run into stuff by accident and then you have a party death, then it's not fun. However, there's just so much that this game contains that's not part of the main storyline. In fact, the main storyline is very condensed and a very small part of what um, Might and Magic and the world of Varn have to offer you. I mean that you could spend literally hundreds of hours on this game, which we're not going to do. That's just crazy. And I've already been down that route the first time that we experienced this game. So we're not going to do that. We're just really illustrating um, the storyline quests, the side quests as well. We'll do those that all three of the castle lords give us, and then some other things too that the game has as well. We'll be doing the Wheel of Luck later on, the castle prisoners, which I've touched on just a little bit. There's a trivia, the island of trivia, that is oops, that is here. There we go. Like here is so here's the great wheel, right? This is the wheel of luck, and we'll talk more about this later, but we'll be visiting here. But there's a lot of just stuff that is part of this game that we will be doing later on. We just really need to keep leveling up. That's why by and large, I haven't been doing a lot of exploring, doing a lot of, oh, hey, let's go here, let's say this here. Leveling up and grinding the first several levels is very important to be able to do a lot of that. So that's why we haven't been doing much exploration. I did do that with Sorpagal, our first city, just to kind of illustrate my methodology of exploring a town, exploring a city, of going around and looking at everything and reading all the inscriptions on the statues, and also it served a double purpose in showing just how important Sorpagal is in this game, and giving you clues as to where the game will take you. And it truly is um, a just a very important place to spend a lot of time initially, so that as you're going out and branching out into the world and exploring and figuring out what the heck you're supposed to do in this game, that you have a good foundation. Excuse me. So that is so we will be using these maps. I will just have them up. I will have the maps up that we will be using in whatever episode. So for example, these would have been all the maps that I would have had up in the previous episode, and I'll just be alt tabbing to really show the area where we'll be going, and kind of what I'm actually looking at on my maps when I'm just standing here doing nothing and narrating. And I'll still probably say we're going to turn right, turn left, do this, do that, um, and so forth. Yet I just wanted to give a visual reference of what it actually would look like. And then also, of course, we have our hint book that I started using a couple episodes ago, just because now we're starting to get more magical gear. I wanted my reference for the gear that gives you plus, +1, +2, +3, whatever. Well, we haven't had any +3 yet. That we have to, I think, find stronger mobs, and also your other items that I had forgotten what a lot of them do. So anyway, we'll be referencing the hint book as well continuously, and there's also another website that let's see if I yeah, I did save it. Okay, so let's look at this oldgames.sk. So this website I've found has a very good list of all of the spells for both the cleric and the wizard, and it's just really easy to go to. So I'll probably be tabbing to this as well, just so that it can be seen what I'm looking at on the manual, because the manual isn't as condensed and easy to read as this. When I'm looking for new spells, um, or spells that I have just learned on my manual, I have to thumb through the pages, because the manual is just it's just a printout from the actual game manual. So this is a much more condensed version, and so I will be so I'll use this, or I'll just tab to this sometimes, just to show uh, what we have learned. And like maybe once we get to level 9, for example, my cleric and my wizard will be able to cast level 5 spells. And so we'll alt tab just to show what spells we've learned, and so on and so forth. So these are the online resources that I'm not necessarily going to be utilizing myself, just because I have everything on paper in front of me, and my and my station here is such a mess of strewn papers and maps and manuals and everything that uh, it just looks awful, and this just gives a little bit more order, I guess, to as far as not order, but it just helps with the visual as to where we're going, what we're doing, and what I am looking at in instances where there is, nothing happening on screen. Like when I just stop and I'm saying, oh, we need to go here, or where do I go? I don't know how many times I asked myself that in episode 9, and it's going to happen more frequently. We're going to have episodes where we go to several different zones, just as we did with the last episode. And so, uh, excuse me. Um, excuse me. So that I thought would be a good idea just to um, just illustrate all this. So anyway, and if anybody who ever watches this video, oh, I'm slept. I hate centaurs. Um, Wants to play Might and Magic, I would recommend looking at the that's awake, by the way. Level 1 spell 1 is awake for both sorceress and cleric. So anyway, um, I also wanted to talk about grinding. So our grinding will still kind of go the same. Ouch. Um, and we won't change much there. If there's ever a point where I have to grind out experience and gold, it'll mostly be experience because gold is easier to come by than experience. As far as amassing it, we can always go to the Crazed Wizard's Cave and get 12,000 gold, and that's a good place to grind out gold. But experience is just truly a grind, and so there will be instances where we'll take uh, where there will be a break, and I'll have several hours of playtime between episodes just because, excuse me, because there's a lot of grinding to be done, and we don't need to do that on our episodes. So anyway, I hope that this little interlude was, I guess, helpful as far as knowing what is going on when there's nothing going on screen, where it's just a lot of referencing your maps, and that's how you play the game. Back in the day, is you would be looking at your maps and looking at your maps and looking at your maps. Of course, the more that we play and the more that we visit these towns and the more that we go into the zones and revisit places, the easier it will be to remember where to go. But when we go to places initially, like all of these places were new, virtually. Portsmouth was new, Dusk was new. Uh, Most of the area or places that we went in C2 and B2 were new, and Castle White, is it Castle White Wolf? Yeah, Castle White Wolf was new, and so very normal for gameplay to be where you're just sitting and maybe maybe you're just spinning in a circle doing nothing because you're you're trying to read a map and figure out which way to turn or something. But anyway, that will be it for this interlude episode. And in our next episode, we'll still label it as episode 10, um, and that will be when we continue onward. And our plan is still the same. We're still going to go to, I think C3 is the next zone that we have to go to find Lord Kilburn. So we're going to continue on as if we hadn't stopped. There won't be any grinding in between. We don't really need to grind right now. We will later. for sure, but there's no planned gameplay in between to grind anything out. Uh, so in the next episode and recording that I do, it will be to find Lord Kilburn and then do the rest that we talked about. So until our next episode, so long for now.